good looking am I? Wow, it's pretty good looking. Welcome. My name's JP, and I'm going to be playing the role of JP Sears tonight. And in the role of JP Sears, I'm going to straighten this out. In the role of JP Sears, I'm going to be your host for the Purposeful Pointlessness Show, Episode 9. Wow, we're about to break out of the birth canal of single digits through this slimy wall of female reproductive metaphor into the other side of the double-digit world. That's going to be exciting. That's not happening now. We're just almost like the water's broken, people. By the way, is there anything more miraculous and gross at the same time than birth? I don't know. I don't know, but I would like to say Merry Christmas. And if you're offended by that, then I would like to still say Merry Christmas. Funny thing about being offended, I think in our last episode, I don't know why I'm speaking in this last episode, like this librarian voice. But yeah, in the last episode, I think I rambled a little bit, teaching myself about what it means to be offended. Here's the deal. Before we slide further down this womb, I think the bottom line, you ready, America? Ignorant American, think only Americans are watching. America, I think the bottom line is when we're offended, what we're really offended about is you're not seeing things through my perspective. I'm offended that you're not seeing things the way I see them. So it's like, yeah, let's cut the crap. You're not offended about this or that. You're offended that I'm not seeing things your way. I'm offended that you're not seeing things my way. What if that's true? I like to think that oversimplifications are always true because they make it so I don't have to think more deeply about the given topic. So I just oversimplify and life is good. So you'll notice we're getting warm and cozy in front of the fire. I love being around fires. I love to look at fires. But I wanted to manipulate the way you're thinking of me. So I put the fire behind me, which robs me the enjoyment of seeing it. But I want you to see it. So you have like a nostalgic sense of, I don't know, being a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout. Pretty soon we're just going to have to call them Scouts. Like, I'm offended you think the Boy Scouts are boys. So anyway, by the fire, funny story about a fire. I think it was 2 or 3 days ago, started a fire in the fireplace because I like fires. And I'm not necessarily very fire savvy. In fact, I'm probably the world's worst fire starter, if that's the term. Case in point, if you've seen them, there's those, as you can clearly see by my sign language, there's those kind of log things you can buy at the store that are supposed to be like no-brainer, easy to light things. Well, it took me forever to figure out how to light those things. But anyway, where was I going with that? Yes. So a few days ago, I started a fire. I was like, yeah, life is going to be good. Have a nice fire tonight. And you're supposed to open the flue in your fireplace, not just so Santa Claus can come down, but so like the smoke and stuff can escape. So that was closed. And I figured that out pretty quick once the fire was lit. That is like the biggest adrenaline rush I've had in probably like 2 years. It's like there was just this reactive, like I turned into like a half like agile panther and then half panicking human being. So like I'm an absolute wuss, like, you know, sticking my hand in a fire. I don't know about that. Like I see some people like in campfires, they'll like, yeah, here's the whatever you put in a fire, like a marshmallow, and let's take it out. I don't think people actually do that. Cavemen did. They put their marshmallows in by hand. But anyway, I'm a wuss. I hate touching things that are hot, and I'm afraid to find out if it was too hot. So I'm like pawing at it, and it's like the little handle things way up there. So I ran to the kitchen and got like these tong things and reached in there just like a complete, I don't know. I'm trying not to call myself bad names, so I'll just say I was complete instead of calling myself a complete idiot. I was just complete. So, long story short, I put the fire on, so you'd think I'm cooler. 2016, we're almost there. Christmas 2016. Have you been good? Because Santa Claus is watching. Then you turn 7 or you turn 9 and they tell you, yeah, Santa Claus isn't watching. We were just making that up so you'd behave. And you say, well, so Santa Claus isn't real, but we do want to remind you that God's watching and he's judging you. And you better behave or else he'll actually punish you worse than Santa Claus ever could with his cereal box full of coal. I just imagine Santa would carry his lumps of coal around in a cereal box. Then you figure out, kind of if you decide to ditch the religious kind of doctrine, and then you say, God isn't about being judgmental up in the sky, but the law of karma is watching you, so you better be good, or else karma will punish you. It's just pretty much, I find it interesting how it's the same damn pattern. It's just Santa Claus, God, karma. And honestly, I'd say it's probably so much truth in all of it. It's just the more literal you take it, further away from functionality you get, according to my delusional point of view. Hey, would you like me to manipulate you into doing something? If so, stay tuned for after this sip of water. That felt like a perfect lead into this. Right now, my mind is rolling on Alpha Brain. Have you tried Alpha Brain? It's made by Onnit. It's got a Onnit. It's as opposed to it's Onnit. Made by Onnit. It's got a bunch of cool organic ingredients, brain fuel without killing your brain like some medications might. All natural stuff. But anyway, I've been enjoying Alpha Brain. And man, I like to judge things by the name, like Alpha Brain. Makes me feel like it's like the opposite of wuss brain. It's Alpha Brain. But anyway, on it, a little shameless. It's not really shameless. It's not really meant to be a plug. It's just like these were sitting here and I just threw some in my mouth. But anyway, I like nutraceuticals. Nootropics is what they're called. But disclaimer, in case you FTC is watching, I feel very, very grateful as of very recently developed a working relationship with Onnit. They're an amazing company based in Austin, Texas. Had a chance to tour their facility about, I don't know what it was, 2 weeks ago. But anyway, I bring this up because FTC likes to come after people. Federal Trade Commission, what I find confusing about, by the way, if you're not following what the hell I'm saying, I'm going to be done saying that in about 10 seconds. The FTC, basically the gist of that is kind of like you got to give disclaimers if you've got like a partnership with a company and you're having their product in a video like this or like other videos. I'm all about transparency. It's like, yeah, if I'm being sponsored by someone, like I don't want to deceive anybody about that. But where I get into a little bit of a wrinkle in the fabric of the universe is, to me, the FTC rules are, they're sort of clear about how you have to disclaim, but also at the same time, in my opinion, they're incredibly unclear because each kind of piece of content is different. So it's like, how do you express a disclaimer in a given piece of content that isn't specifically outlined in the FTC rules. So I don't know. So so that's why I just sit here awkwardly rambling about it for 2 minutes, I guess. But yeah, anyway, FTC, if you're watching, my relationship with Onnit is purely, what's the word? Platonic? Yeah, it's a purely platonic relationship. It's not sexual. Wonder if it was sexual. Do you have like a sexual relationship with a sponsor? Do you have to disclose that too? I don't know. It's not sexual with Onnit. At least not yet, anyway. Oh, yeah. So what I was getting at here, by the way, let me just interrupt myself for the second time so I can completely forget what I was going to share with you. In the Purposeful Pointlessness Show, if this is your first rodeo, the purpose of the Purposeful Pointlessness Show is for me to share what's going on in my life, share some perspectives. There might be some purposefulness, there will definitely be some pointlessness, and there might even be some purposefulness to the pointlessness. And maybe not. But anyway, appreciate you joining. If you're just joining, thank you. We're sliding through the birth canal together. So yeah, where I was going with all of that, if you guys would like to jump on my email newsletter, like I won't even try and trick you into joining it. I'll just say, if you want to jump on my email newsletter, would you like to get more email? Is your life too filled with free, playful time? Would you like a more gravity to pull you into your computer, into your email, to monopolize your attention? If so, I've got another email list for you to join. It's mine. So anyway, if you'd like to dissociate more from real life and engage more in the matrix that is everything online, in this case, the specific dimension of the matrix of me and my stuff, love to have you jump on the list. Scratching my head, I wonder what that means. Does that mean like I feel guilty for... Does it mean I feel proud? I don't know. It's just like, what am I scratching my head for? I mean, it itched. But why did it itch is the question. So anyway, if you would like to purposefully jump on my pointless email newsletter list, you're welcome to. You can go to my website, awakenwithjp.com. There on the homepage, somewhere on it, you'll find the email sign up button and or form, whatever. And just like everybody else's list, I have my free giveaways to trick you into joining my list. I think my giveaways are, it's like a 2-page PDF thing. One page is satirical, one page is sincere. The satirical page, I think, is 7 ways to be more spiritual than your friends. Last thing you want to do is have friends that are more spiritual than you. Second to last thing you'd want to do is have friends that are less spiritual than you. Third to last thing you'd ever want to do is have friends that are only the same amount of spiritual as you. There's nothing fun about that. Is there? No. Point is, if you want those 2 giveaways that are there for basically no other reason than to trick people into signing up for my newsletter, they're there. Love to give them to you. What do I do with my newsletter? Yeah, it's a good question. I send out newsletters regularly. So far, about once every 9 months. The last one I sent out was, it might have been March, but probably February 2015. But I will, actually any day now, I'm going to start doing weekly, just short, once-a-week newsletters. With the main intention is just to share bits of connective sort of insider information, what's going on in my life, my work, kind of opportunities that arise that you might be a part of. And, icing on the cake is, of course, shamelessly try to sell you things once in a while. Come on. We all like to be shamelessly sold things. Don't you? I do. I'm going to shamelessly sell myself this cup of tea. It's like the first time I've taken a sip of tea during one of these shows, first sip anyway, and didn't burn myself. I waited the right amount of time. The little tea fortune, drinking yogi tea, by the way. Dear FTC, I'm not sponsored by yogi tea. Not yet, anyway. Yogi tea, if you're listening, watching. Empty yourself and let the universe fill you up. Dear yogi tea, that's about the worst yogi fortune I've ever heard. It's like big words. They don't feel meaningful to me. I hope they feel meaningful to you. Maybe I'm just being pessimistic. I've become so optimistic that I think there's a lot of benefit to being a pessimist. That's how optimistic I've gotten. Speaking of optimism, if you would feel as though your glass is half full by connecting with me in person, how'd you like that transition? Feel like I should write that down and use it again. Speaking of optimism, if you'd feel as though your glass would be half full by connecting with me in person, you're probably sitting there saying, JP, you had me at half full. Whatever you're about to say, the answer is yes. You're that good, JP. Thank you. Thank you. So where I was going with that, a couple things happening. I'm going to be a part of the International Tribe Design Retreat in Costa Rica. I believe that is January 3rd through the 7th. Last I knew, which was about last week, there were a few spots still available. I'm not sure if there still are. But if you're into last minute glass half full opportunities, you can jump on my website. I've got an events page there with the appropriate link to check that out. So I sat down on a Friday night, watched a video, redhead guy, and then decided to go to Costa Rica because of the video. Not likely. But anyway, it's love to have you if you care to come. And then also I'm super excited, just announced like earlier this week, there is a Yoga Journal Live event in San Francisco. I'm going to be there doing a keynote speech. I hate the word speech. It's like recited stuff. I don't do recited stuff. So keynote talk. I'll be doing some comedy. Then I'll be doing some heartfelt discussion. That is, what the hell is that? Either January 13th or 14th. I guarantee you that it is definitely probably one of the two. But anyway, the link to that is also on my events page. I'm not sure if I said that's in San Francisco. I probably said it like 2 seconds ago. I'm not sure if I told you, but that's in San Francisco. And if you're wondering where it's at, it's going to be in San Francisco. Alpha Brain, ladies and gentlemen, for memory and focus. I'm going to San Francisco. Did you know that? And I find it interesting. I've been just going to talk about myself. That's really mostly what I do on these shows. I just sit here and just like bathe in narcissism. And it's like really enjoyable. It's not like I'm optimist. So it's like, wow, this feels really good to just bathe in this narcissistic discussion with myself, about myself, by myself, while actually looking at two images of myself, because I have two phones open. One's a live feed to Facebook, the other's a live feed to YouTube. Man, how this is just, the fires of narcissism are burning. That is just cheesy as hell, JP. I'm talking about myself, with myself, by myself, looking at two images of myself. Good God. Where the hell was I going with that before I got lost in the enjoyability of my narcissism? I don't know. Probably doesn't even matter. But I will say this. So I've gotten home from, that I just talk about myself. And I just, man, I'm using myself to no end. I was about to say something about myself that I've been traveling a lot, but then I got so caught up telling you why I'm going to be talking about myself by describing how I am with myself, by myself, love to talk about myself during these shows that are really nothing than me being narcissistic. So I started talking more deeply about myself, which then distracted me from the little superficial musing I was going to share about myself. It's like my inner narcissism is never satisfied. Anyway. Ooh, that reminds me of a chiropractic story. Maybe I'll get to that. Maybe not. So yeah, I've been traveling nonstop for almost 3 months. I can't even tell you where I've been. It's just been nonstop, but I got home about a week ago. Lovely to be home. And I find it interesting, this psychological mechanism in me has just it's gone off that says, I'm done traveling for the year. And it feels so good to just sink into that. I'm done traveling for the year. And that's enjoyable, that's understandable. But the interesting part that I find interesting, just to be so limited on my vocabulary, is that I actually have 2 more trips this year. But yeah, I don't know why, but there's just this great psychological switch in me that it feels like I'm done traveling for the year, which I've enjoyed the heck out of my travels. And it's also just wow, it's been so much of a fast pace, so many great, rich experiences though. And so many connections with people that are, just rock stars of people I feel so blessed to have met. But yeah, whatever. It's 2 more trips. So yeah, speaking of trips, how are you spending your Christmas? And you say, well, JP, I don't celebrate Christmas. I don't celebrate it either, but I'm still going to be alive on the day of Christmas, what some people call Christmas. So how are you spending your Christmas? I have found, I find a little, I'll call it slight sadistic enjoyment about listening to some folks who, they're kind of caught up in the stress of the holidays, shopping, buying presents, not necessarily out of enjoyment, but more so out of obligation. And they've got travel that's kind of it's travel or visiting family friends that seemingly is against their will. I enjoy witnessing that because it just, it probably gives me a sadistic thrill. Let's be honest. But also it just reminds me of how grateful I am that I don't sign up for that kind of holiday stress. It's I have the holidays on my terms, which is enjoyable. It hasn't always been that way. And I think probably part of it is I live, probably 900 miles away from my family, and very rarely do I actually visit during the holidays. So that wipes out 75% of the possible kind of obligatory stress, obligatory obligations, working on the limited vocabulary scenario tonight. And the other thing, I'll sound like a selfish jerk here. Man, I will. I don't really buy presents for people either. I actually haven't bought a single present for anybody this year. That's good. It feels good. Here's a present. I hope you can feel the resentment. Why'd I buy this present? I felt the pressure to buy you the present. Came from my heart. Enjoy. Do you get me anything? So I'm not against buying presents. It's just the natural grace of it hasn't arisen. How do you like that justification for selfishness? And what was it, in my early 20s, back when I still lived in Ohio, near my family, man, I'd be like, okay, and then, by the way, I'm single today as well. I've been single most of this year. Ladies, single. This is my new dating app. It's called Facebook Live or YouTube Live. So apparently how the app works is you turn it on and then you broadcast yourself, and you're supposed to get dates from it. It's a new character I'm working on. The guy who thinks everything is a dating app. It's like, oh yeah, Instagram, that's a dating app. You post pictures of yourself to try and get dates, and then you look at pictures of other people and see if you want to date them. You leave little hearts if you like them. Oh yeah, the iMessage app. Yeah, that's to text people that you're interested in. Skype, yeah, that's so you can you see people and actually talk to them. It's like speed dating, only less inconvenience. Let's see, I don't listen to many apps. Jesus. I don't use many apps. Get with my senses, JP. So, long story short, the fact that I'm single during the holidays also helps my cause of kind of like living the holidays on my terms. But yeah, I remember in my early 20s living near my family, girlfriend at the time, her name was Nicole. And it was kind of like, her family was wonderful. My family was wonderful. Well, they also had their crappy shadow side too. I mean, what family doesn't? So it was like, okay, spend half the day there with hers, then drive across town, spend half the day with my family, and 0% of the day is me doing what I actually want to do. It's kind of like, if you're buying into an obligation, I guess at some level you're doing what you're feeling obligated to because you want to do that, or at least you want to avoid what you imagine the consequences would be. I don't know. So where the hell am I going with this? Oh man, that was a great question. I like that. We're creating some direction here. We're creating focus, concentration, and purpose. The purpose of all that was to say tomorrow I'm driving to Florida, Cape Coral, Florida, on the west coast of Florida. Florida has a west coast. Anytime I hear people say the west coast of Florida, it's like, you don't know your geography. California's on the west coast. But yes, Florida is what they call a peninsula, ladies and gentlemen. So it has both a west coast and an east coast. So anyway, Cape Coral on Florida, whatever. My dear longtime mentor, dear friend, lovely dude named John McMullen, and dear friend, his wife, Lee. I haven't seen them for about 2 years, so it's just, I'm so looking forward to spending a few days with them. So I'll be doing a 8-9 hour drive down there tomorrow, which will be way cool. Yeah. December 3rd, 2000, the heck was it? December 3rd, 2003? Yes. Was my first experience with John McMullen. Yeah, John McMullen, you got to check him out. journeysofwisdom.com. FTC, I am not sponsored by Journeys of Wisdom yet. Journeys of Wisdom. Anyway, the guy is just an absolute angel inside of a human body, and his lovely wife, Lee Randolph. I've been doing a one-on-one dream work with her being my dream therapist. I don't think she goes by the term therapist, probably coach, maybe human being. But I've been doing dream work with her for about 3 years, I believe, maybe a shade over 3 years. Could be slightly off on that. I might be slightly accurate on that too. So anyway, I asked you how you're spending Christmas, basically just because I wanted to tell you how I was spending my Christmas. It's kind of like people ask you, like, hey, how are you doing? I was like, they might not care. They just want you to ask them how they're doing. So I appreciate you asking me through this just intimate silence of your question, what are you doing for Christmas, JP? And yeah, absolutely. Hope you have a wonderful holiday, or if it's a day for you, awesome. And if it's just a night for you, maybe you're like circadian rhythm fluid. You're like, hey, JP, I don't do days, I don't do nights. It's just all presence for me. So I'm a little offended you would call the day a day. I'm offended that you didn't see it through my point of view. To me, it might be the night, even though the sun's up. It's like, how do you know? Why do you think I'm a human being? How do you know that I'm not a cat trapped inside of a human body? I'm nocturnal. So the fact that you think it's day out and I'm a nocturnal cat, would you want me to die? Do you not want me to go out and hunt mice? You want me to starve to death? Is that what you're saying, JP? How dare you call tomorrow a day? I guess Christmas is 2 days from now. How dare you call 2 days from now a day? What the hell's wrong with me? Yeah, I guess this is just crystal meth tea. That's what's wrong with me. I'm kidding. Actually, quite the opposite. It's kava tea. So I'd like to get to the segment of this show that I like to call Real Talk. You'll say, well, JP, haven't you been talking? Like, yeah, just riffing. Just been riffing. Hasn't been real talk. I have segments to this show. Why? Basically so I can feel like Oprah. So yeah, right now I feel like I'm a kid pretending I have a TV show. And our next guest is going to be Zephyr. Yeah, actually, before we get to our next segment, let's bring out our first guest. Zephyr, you want in on this? Zephyr's actually on his living room bed. He's got 2 beds, one in the living room, one in my bedroom, but he sleeps in my bed. And this is a memory foam bed, so I'm going to actually disrupt him. Zephyr, you're going to be my first guest tonight. We're going to hear about your life tragedy. Yeah, and then we're all going to feel better about ourselves, hearing about your suffering. So, Zephyr. By the way, everybody, this is Zephyr. You'll see him make various cameo appearances in various videos of mine. I think most recently, you haven't been in any videos recently, have you, buddy? Oh, you're so cute. I think the most recent one was one of them in May, if meat eaters acted like vegans. And it might have been the very last scene of the video. One of the last scenes, I'm holding a steak talking to my friend Daniel Eisenman. And just at the very bottom of the picture, you see Zephyr jump up and grab the steak. He made that sound he just made when he yawned. That's how it was when he grabbed the steak. So, yeah, anyway, Zephyr, how's your 2016 been? Why aren't you saying anything? He's embarrassing me. You are a cute little boy, though. He makes those noises sometimes. Do you hear that? It's like sometimes he just snores even though he's awake. Okay, Zephyr, yeah, it's been real, but I gotta help the show go on. It's just like your personality, you're just not very talkative right now. You could have more charm. So he just lays down. Ooh, I gotta do a little power supply in this phone. Oh yeah, real talk. Is it okay if we get to real talk, Zephyr? A segment It's just a word, but it makes me feel so good inside. The Real Talk segment, I'd be curious for you, as you look at my arm and elbow. There we are. Is that working? Yeah, so Real Talk. Your 2016, how much of your life during that time were you living for you, and how much of your life were you living for other people? Why do I ask? I don't know. It's probably something I need to consider for myself. Are you alive? I would dare say, yes, you are. But just because you're alive, I think, doesn't necessarily mean that you're living your life. And I think the purpose of your life, my life, is for us to live our own life, for us to experience the miracle of the life that wants to live through us during our lifetime. And I know for myself, I've spent a lot of years and still have those are some mental projection swear words, but I still have a hell of a lot of room to grow on this, where I've made myself essentially a surrogate to live other people's agendas. One of the, I think, wise men of the 19th century or 20th century, I always forget how they count those things. Like it was the 1900s, but I think that's the 20th century. Anyway, wise man Carl Jung, he said the greatest burden that a child must bear is the unlived life of the parent. Was that agreement or disagreement? So yeah, Zephyr agrees with that. And you say, well, JP, I'm not a child. I'm an adult. I find 100% of all adults once had a childhood, and I find 100% of all adults still carry their childhood inside of them. They may not be experiencing it chronologically anymore, but just like how a tree has its innermost rings inside of it, its 1-year-old ring, 2-year-old ring, 3-year-old ring, those rings never go away. Its childhood is still there. The tree just simply adds more to the equation of its own self. And I think we do that too. So my delusional point of view is our childhoods are still inside of us. So nonetheless, marrying that potential reality together with Carl Jung's message that says, greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parent, we can ask ourselves, what's the unlived life of our parents? What's the unlived life of other people in my life that I'm donating myself to be the carrier of? And I think a question that we can ask ourselves is, and by the way, to me it takes a lot of humbleness to consider, like, okay, yes, I'm an adult. I appear to be functional. I appear to maybe even be self-sufficient. And no matter how far we get from the source that we came from, our mothers and fathers, be it physical distance or time distance, if they're passed away or not in your life, a lot of humbleness, in my opinion, to realize I am still very heavily influenced by my experience of them. Maybe not them, let's own it, let's be self-responsible, and it was our perception of them that I think still heavily influences us to this day. In my opinion, typically the people who are under the biggest hypnotic trance with regard to their parents' agendas for them would be the people who say, yeah, I'm not influenced at all. It's like, oh, what I just heard you say is you're so under the hypnotic trance that you can't wake up enough to observe the hypnotic trance that you're under, if that makes a little bit of sense. But if you wake up enough to kind of like have the observation, like, I guess I am a human. I was very impressionable when I was young. So nonetheless, when we consider what did my parents want from themselves in their life, their childhood, their adulthood, that they didn't know how to give themselves, and or didn't know how to feel the deservingness of going after. They didn't. What about their lives were they limited by the governor of their self-worth? That makes sense. I dare say our parents and ourselves, the dreams of ours that we go out and achieve, I think those are the governor. They're limited by our level of self-worth. It's like, the higher my self-worth, the more I'll allow myself to go out and achieve things, big things, have a deeper sense of fulfillment because I feel worthy of it. I feel deserving of it. And of course, the lower our self-worth, the more limited the more limitations we impose on ourselves because we don't feel deserving of it. So we have this internal governor called our self-worth. So nonetheless, if that's true of us, I would dare say it's true of our parents. So whatever the self-imposed limitations were that our parents put on themselves, I would dare say the life that wanted to live through them that they didn't allow to express in a real way because they were limited by their low self-worth, not necessarily low, but whatever level it was. We all have our limitations. So whatever their limits were that impaired some of what wanted to live through them, guess who picks that up? Guess who the parents try to push that onto? Not always, but oftentimes the kids, in my opinion. So nonetheless, when the parent says, okay, you go out and be the star athlete and get the glory that I never knew how to achieve for myself because I didn't have the talent or I didn't have the inner worth that allowed me to feel deserving of it. So I always sabotage myself. So I didn't know how to give that to myself. So dear child, you go out and do that. I think I want it for you. But nope. I want it for me through you, I think is the real message that's unspoken most of the time. And of course, why would a child consent to that? Because I would dare say all children are addicts. And what are children addicts of, amongst other things? I think approval. So through our addiction to approval that I think is very persistent in our childhood and maybe pretty darn persistent into our adulthoods too, we blindly consent to what will give us approval. And one of the dimensions that would cause a parent to give their child approval is when you start fulfilling what I want for myself through you, dear child. When you do that, you get approval. The further away from that you stray, the more I feel my inner sense of emptiness for not having lived that dimension of life that I want. So I don't like that. So I'll give you disapproval because you're getting further and further and further away from the mechanism that allows me to cover up my inner sense of emptiness. So when you do that, I don't like how it feels, so I disapprove of you, which teaches you, dear child, pretending you're my child for a second, so that teaches you to go closer towards what will give you approval, which is the things that I want for myself through you. So long story short, how much of your life were you living for you in 2016? How much of it were you living for other people? What was the purpose of your life in 2016? And we can ask those questions of self-reflection, I think, for the reason of realizing where we've been so we can adjust course. Yeah, the calendar changes a year, so that's sometimes a reminder for us to take an assessment of where we've been so we can realize where we are so we can better realize how we can recalibrate our direction to better go to better go, better get to, better aim towards where we want to be within our life experience, within ourself, within our feelings. When we take a look at the purpose of our lives, I always think actions speak louder than words. When I listen to people talk about the purpose of their life, most of the time people have really cool, noble words to describe what the purpose of their life is. I'm here to help people, or I'm here to help animals, or I'm here to feed the hungry, or I'm here to feed the full, or I'm here to starve the hungry. And it's whatever your cup of tea is. Kava is my cup of tea right now. But my pointless point of all that was to suggest, in my opinion, actions speak much louder than words, especially when it comes to our purpose. I think there's a difference between what do you think your purpose is versus what is your purpose. I think how we've been living displays our purpose. It bleeds our purpose out, and it defines our purpose, and it executes our purpose. So how we've been living, I think, is what we've been fueling as our purpose. And if we've been living out of alignment relative to our agenda, our heart's desires, then we can see the purpose of my life so far during portions of the year has been very dedicated to something other than me and my authenticity. So nonetheless, I ask these convoluted questions because I need to recontemplate how much of my life, 2016, has been fulfilling my purpose versus other people's purposes. I say oftentimes that I'm a recovering approval addict. That might be a little too optimistic. I'm working on it. And because I am such an approval addict, it's very easy for me to just have this sleight of hand and consent to what I think other people want of me to fulfill their own purposes, their own agendas, while thinking that it's my true purpose, that it's really what I want. And the sleight of hand is what part of me wants, what I would call my just dysfunctional, insatiable, codependent inner child. What he wants is approval. What he wants second most is approval. What he wants third most is approval. So because that's what he wants, it's like the opportunity at hand, if you will. It can look like I really want that. But what's overlaid in front of it is approval. So I'm looking through the approval at the opportunity, thinking, yes, that opportunity, that's for me. By the way, how sexy do I look right now? Stick with me here. Ugh. But there I am, just hypnotized by the desire for approval that's so damn freaking close that I can't even see it. Yes, I want that opportunity. That's for me. But I don't know. I don't even know if I could see it. Because all my eyes can make connection to that I can't even really register is the desire for approval. That's sleight of hand, if you ask me. By the way, another question that I would ask myself is it possible to be certain? Am I saying yes out of the desire for the approval that I think other people will give me? Am I saying yes to this? Or, is it that? Or is it, yes, this opportunity is definitely, the situation is definitely something that really speaks to my heart? I don't know how to answer that with any degree of certainty. I do know how to answer that with curiosity, and I think curiosity is probably what's most important. Certainty here, to me, just sounds like a self-seduction, but I think, at least for me, when I can realize there's two possibilities here. I might be tricking myself into just going after approval while thinking that this pursuit is really what I want. And it's possible that this pursuit is really what I want. So there's a couple possibilities there. And knowing that there's a couple possibilities, I think helps me keep two eyes open rather than just one versus zero. So if there's a point to all that, it's take a look at 2016. What's worked for you? What hasn't worked for you? What would you want to change? Yeah, and by the way, living your dream, you're going to ask yourself, what is your dream? And I don't even really care about that question. I just ask that question to get to this next question. So what's your dream? Why is that your dream? To me, that's a much better question. Let's not just be literal. Let's not just buy into our own stories. Let's not just think that we're one-dimensional beings. What's your dream? Now go live it. What if part of you creates dreams in order to escape yourself, creates fantasies in order to escape yourselves? If we blindly followed all of our dreams just because there are dreams, what if that's potentially the worst thing we could do to ourselves? Why is it my dream? And I think when we start to look at the why behind our dream, we can start to consider, is this a dream worth pursuing? By the way, the dream could be something like very grandiose and all the rationalizations we need in order to call it like a worthy dream to pursue. But if that dream is oriented away from yourself rather than towards yourself, then I would dare say that is probably not a dream, that's a nightmare. And pursuing a nightmare is maybe the worst thing you could do to yourself and for yourself. But if your why is self-honoring, not self-escaping, then I would dare say that is a dream worth pursuing. Not because of the dream, but because of who that dream takes you closer to, which would be you. So what is your dream? Why is it your dream? And what part of you is dreaming that dream? I find it actually very seductive, maybe even dangerous questions when we just take our dreams at face value and then have this dogma that says follow your dreams. It's like, man, I have a lot of dreams at night even that are pretty crappy. I mean, probably great lessons about myself, but man, I wouldn't want to follow those dreams. And I have parts of me that feel insignificant inside that dream of significance in an incredibly egotistical way. Not talking about like spiritual significance. I'm talking about like the superficial significance, superiority, being better than other people, and then dreams become fabricated around that. And the root cause of what generates that dream is typically buried underneath the symptomatic literalization of the dream. So in other words, dreaming of fame and fortune. Like, oh. So in other words, part of me dreams of being significant, but why does part of me dream that dream? Oh, maybe because part of me feels significantly insignificant inside. Why does part of me feel significantly insignificant inside? I get to take a look at some of my life experiences that left the impression in me that I'm insignificant. Apparently some of them still need to be processed. So nonetheless, if I were to blindly follow this dream of fame and fortune, I would dare say that's taking me away from myself. It's an escape mechanism to get the hell away from the part of me that feels insignificant. So what's the difference between blindly following a dream and opening up your eyes to not see the dream, but see the dreamer who's dreaming the dream? To me, a dream is just a symptom. Whether it's a night dream or a daydream or like a goal dream, a dream of passion, the dream is just a symptom. It's always a symptom of the dreamer dreaming the dream. And I think just like night dreams, oftentimes our night dreams are showing us essentially our emptiness, showing us where we're still wounded, where we still need help, if you will. And I think our daydreams are just like our night dreams, except we discount them more. We think, my daydreams are somehow different. I think they carry just as much lessonry about our innermost self. Our dreams, our fantasies, or even our goals and desires. It's really all the same thing. They oftentimes teach us about how we're still fractured inside. So in other words, what if all dreams to a degree are compensatory mechanisms for how parts of us feel incomplete inside? What if it is true? You say, well, yeah, JP, what if? Then what? To me, the then what is, in simple words, know what your dream is, figure out why is that your dream, or at least get curious about it, and get twice as curious about the dreamer who's dreaming the dream, which would be a part of you. And by the way, what the hell would happen also if we got very unattached to our dreams? Which, by the way, to me, that sequence of questioning is a process of unattachment to dreams while we get more connected to ourself. Less attached to the pull away from self of the literal dreams, and therefore more connected to ourself. So I think the more unattached we can be to our dreams, the more we're willing to let dreams go that take us away from ourselves. Dreams that are just meant to cover up our senses of inadequacies that we might carry inside. And what if you just got dogmatically attached to a dream that's doing nothing other than covering up your true self? It's like, okay, my life mission is to cover up me. The purpose of my life is to cover up my life. And it's like, you want to be careful about that. So I think the more we can allow our dreams to be beads of water running off the duck's back, we let them go as soon as we have a cause to reach for something greater than the given hallucination of a dream. To me, that's a great place to be. And the Buddha always talked about unattachment. By the way, our dreams, part of the seduction of a dream is it feels very important to us. But why is it important to us? So I think our friend the Buddha would say, be unattached, period. Not just be unattached to that which doesn't feel important, but stay super attached to what feels important. Yeah. Be attached to what you take seriously. And just be unattached to stuff that seems worthless to you. That'd be easy. But here I am going to act like I can tell you what the Buddha meant with the words that he said. I think the Buddha, as channeled by my dog Zephyr, who I'm channeling right now, which is just like filtering just all the discrepancies out. So you're getting more purity now than you would if Buddha was talking to you. Is that blasphemous? Maybe. I don't know. So Buddha coming through Zephyr, coming through me, to you, and through you to another part of you, would say, where was I going with that? Oh yeah. Be unattached to even that which seems very important to you. Be unattached to even that you take very seriously. And to me, unattachment, non-attachment, it's a journey. It's not a destination. Just because I say, okay, JP, don't be attached to getting your way with this. Yeah, it's like I said the words, and I have the aim for non-attachment, but it doesn't mean I'm there. It means I'm aiming there. I'm leaning towards it as far as I can in any given moment, which in some moments isn't very far at all. By the way, one of my pet peeves is end of year reflections. It's like exactly what we're doing right now. Why is it my pet peeve? Because I think when we have this sort of mindset that says, okay, around January 1, that's when we set goals and reflect on our lives. And we don't do it any other time. So to me, I like to be careful about letting kind of the end of the year or the new year be a scapegoat for being indifferent to my life the rest of the year. To me, actually flipping the script would be wonderful. It's like, okay, let's take one day off a year of self-reflection, one day off a year of being proactive in our life. Like, okay, like January 1st, let's not care about anything. The other 364 days of the year, or a leap year, would be 366. Doesn't even matter. Yeah. So the other 364 days of the year, we're actually considerate of ourselves. We're contemplative. We're reflective of our life. We're paying attention to where we're aiming ourselves. We're paying attention to our heart's desire. So yeah, nonetheless, I do feel as though, I'm going to be honest with you. My first step of honesty right now is to tell you that I'm going to be honest with you. And I'm being honest about that. So then my second step is of honesty. We're having a come to Jesus moment. It's Christmas time. Do you think Jesus would have died of an infection if he was born in a manger? I mean, they say he was born, but you know how like kids nowadays are born in like pretty clean environments? So a manger, like have you ever had an animal that has mange? It's like aggressive fleas or something like that. Like they called it a manger for a reason. So it's infested with bugs, germs. Like I'm picturing cow manure in there too. I don't know, is that just me? But I don't know. Was Jesus born in a manger? I don't know, especially kids back then. A lot of them died young because of infections and stuff. So Jesus probably had a pretty good immune system though, wouldn't he? You got to think, if you can walk on water, you could be born in cow poop and probably do okay for yourself. Does that make a little bit of sense? And I assume that's probably in the Bible. That's probably like not the Old Testament or the New Testament, but like the adolescent testament. It's like not young or not old. So yeah, I think the adolescent testament was all about strong immune systems through the Christ consciousness and being able to withstand the bacterial pressures that cow feces has against your human physiology. Okay, so I just talked myself out of that. I was doubting for a second. I apologize, literalists. I was thinking for a second that Jesus wasn't born in a manger. By the way, like, if any of you guys are pregnant out there on the verge of giving birth, by the way, if you're currently giving birth, like, thank you for tuning in while you're giving birth to a child. Like, it's probably one of the greatest, I don't know, like, would that be great? I don't know, like, what I say earlier, like, nothing in life is as miraculous and gross at the same time as childbirth. So, nonetheless, if you're experiencing the absolute disgusting miracle of childbirth right now and you're tuning into this, like, yeah, I'm honored. I really am. So, oh yeah, the little disclaimer though, I'm going to give you advice in a second, but first I'll give you advice about my advice, and that advice is to know that I'm not a doctor. Unless I'm in denial. I don't think I'm a doctor. So if you are going into labor right now and you're like, okay, I don't have a hospital nearby, I'm not at home, so there's a barn, which would probably be like a manger. So we could go lay down in hay and birth our son Jimmy into Jimmy Jr., JJ. That's a good name, JJ. So we could birth little JJ into, the cow pen in there, or the stall where the horses go, and the horse urine is still kind of warm, so that'll keep me warm because it's like middle of winter, cold out. So what other options are there? Like, how about just not in the barn? Just like outside where there haven't been like mangy animals roaming around. And there would be mangy animals roaming around because it's called a manger for a reason. So my non-doctoral advice for you is just like out in an open field, like a hill. It's like, under a tree even, but not in the manger, not in the barn. A hospital would probably be like an even better option. So where was I going with that? Something along the lines of, I talked myself out of doubting that Jesus was born in a manger because of the doctrine of the strong immune system due to Christ consciousness, nirvana, bliss, cosmic consciousness. And then about 15 minutes ago, the point I was trying to make about my pet peeve of only doing end-of-year reflections reminds me, past 2 days, I've spent not the whole days, but parts of the days filming a new video. I'd invite you to stay tuned early next week for that. It's relevant for this time of year, not having to do with Christmas, but the next holiday after that. And in that video, I won't tell you exactly what it's about. In fact, I won't tell you what it's about anything other than what I've already implied so far. But I will say this. The new character will be making another appearance in the video. You say, well, JP, who's the new character? Well, if you've watched my biohacking video, if you've watched it, thank you for watching. Appreciate you. And if you haven't watched it, I'd invite you to go watch it. It's on my YouTube channel, Facebook page. So it's, a couple of videos back. So you'll notice there's a loud-talking dude who wears a hat and blue blocker glasses. I don't really know that he has a name. If I were to give him a premature name, his name might be like Harley the Hipster. Don't get too attached to that. Just like the Buddha would say, don't get too attached to the name Harley the Hipster. But anyway, I'm having fun with that character. He makes an appearance in the next video. And actually, I'd love your feedback. If you care to comment in, I know there's a lot of comments flying in, and I apologize as I'm right now not in the mode of reading comments, but I do want to go back to these. So if you wouldn't mind commenting in, if you've seen the biohacking video, or if you're from the future and you've watched the next video that will come out that has the same character in it, along with the normal ultra spiritual character, let me know what you think of the character. Love him, hate him, somewhere in the middle. And I won't violate my creative spirit. I won't abandon my creative spirit or become more attached to it based on your positive, negative feedback. And it's really not positive or negative feedback. It's just your feedback, which I would love. It's a dimension of consideration. I love to perceive how people are perceiving some of the work that I do. I don't get overly attached to it. Just like the Buddha would say, JP, don't get overly attached to how people are perceiving the work that you're doing. But notice it. It's a consideration. So, yeah, let me know what you think of the new character. I'm having fun with the new character. and I find it like I don't. I'm going to talk about myself. It's like, Jesus Christ, JP, you've been doing that for past hour, and you're acting like you're just starting. Yeah, probably. That's the act. But speaking of act, I'm enjoying the new character. It's a process of, I wouldn't say creation. I think real creation is a process of discovery. It's like we're trying to uncover what's there, just like the painter's trying to uncover what is this painting that wants to come out of me. It's like a discovery process. But anyway, I guarantee I'm not 100% clicked into who the character is, who he is, how he is, what he's all about. I'm enjoying that discovery process. I would say my ultra spiritual character, who goes by the name of JP, just like my, I guess, unultra spiritual character, who I think is me right now, also goes by the name of JP. But I'd say my ultra spiritual character, I've been doing those videos for about 2 years now. Still love them. Gonna keep doing them. And I think it was probably a good solid year and a half before I felt like a really significant, like just knowing, like, this is who the character is. That first year and a half, it was mostly discovery, like me, like learning, like who is he, how is he, what's he about, would he say this? No, he wouldn't say that. Would he say that? Yeah, he would say that. And here's how he would see this situation. So I enjoy that. So point of that pointlessness was I so enjoyed and still am enjoying the relationship, if you will, sounding super cliche, artist, thespian. I used to think thespian was like, just meant lesbian. Am I a lesbian? Am I a thespian? I don't even know what thespian means. My friend Maria explained it to me, and I don't think I was thespian enough to totally understand. But anyway, so enjoy the process with my ultra spiritual character that is just like sort of like a I don't know, having a new child with my new character. Might be some other new characters happening before too long too. Stay tuned. Oh, the other piece of feedback that I would love to ask you to comment in, and again, I'm not reading the comments in this moment, but I'm going to come back to it, so just know right now I'm speaking to your inner child who fears abandonment, fears rejection. Like, I'm not going to comment in because I'm afraid you might not see it. Then I'll feel abandoned, which will remind me how I was already abandoned. Trust me, I'm going to take a look at your comment. So, but you were still abandoned the way you were. So just know that's still there, even though it won't necessarily be as triggered by this relative to if I asked you to comment, but I didn't go back and look at your comment. Maybe I should hit like. Do you think if I hit like on your comment, it would heal your core wound of abandonment that you're trying not to connect with right now? You think? Do you think your deepest emotional wound could be healed through me hitting like on your Facebook comment? I'm going to try. I will. I'll come back and hit like on your Facebook comment. Maybe YouTube comment too. Now, if you're on YouTube right now, you're going to have to stay wounded. I'll do it on Facebook later. So beneath all that, or on top of all that, whatever direction sense you want to go with, man, I'm having a blood sugar crash. Right now I'm noticing like, wow, my thinking is weird. I've had a couple of friends send me chocolates. Chris Leatherman, thank you very much. Deanna Deaver, thank you very much. So the problem with sending me chocolates is I enjoy them and I will eat them all at once. So I did that a little bit earlier. Man, sugar high is wonderful. And then the blood sugar crash, pancreas stress and can't think straight, which is, I think it's actually enjoyable to not think straight. It's like, if you're Case in point, not able to think straight. Like, how clean is this analogy coming out? But it'd be like if you're gonna, ride your bike. How would you want to ride your bike in a straight line or like round twists and turns and curves? It's probably a poor question to prove my point, because a lot of people just ride their bikes in a straight line. That's a sport I don't get. Road bicycle riding, I don't get it. Parts of it I get, like blood doping, steroids, that I'm on board with. Like, yes, of course, blood dope. That's chicken soup for the soul. But what I don't like, basically, I like everything in the sport of bicycling other than the bicycle riding. Love the drug taking, hate the bicycle riding. So anyway, I just don't get the enjoyment out of putting your head down. First off, putting on spandex. Welcome to 1985. Where's your spandex? Here it is. Now I'm ready for my bike ride. So you put on your 1985 spandex, get on your bike, head down, figure out the worst posture possible for your spine, and then you pedal for 2 hours in a straight line. I wish I was evolved enough to know how to enjoy that. So if you're a bicyclist, I'm not trying to do anything other than to say I don't understand, and I so appreciate that you enjoy bicycling. Pedal less, do more blood doping. That's my philosophy. In that roundabout way, the question that I started to want your additional feedback, aside from the character that I was getting at, it's really all, what if I was NLPing you right now? Like, JP, you seem very tangential right now. Like, your blood sugar incoherent. It's like, what if I'm just like brainwashing you with the most advanced nilping techniques known to man? Maybe I'm doing that. Maybe I'm doing that to myself right now. So nonetheless, without further ado, I would also love your feedback. What was your favorite ultra spiritual video of 2016? Feel free to comment that. And am I asking you just so I could feel ego gratified? No, it's a relative question. What's your favorite? So it's not like, tell me how awesome I am. It's like, by definition of relativity, you'll have a favorite, you'll have a least favorite. So I would just be curious, like, what video resonated with you the most, whether it's laughter, levity, or an underlying message, whatever it is that made you vibe the most with a video. I'd love to know what that video was. Speaking of videos, on to the next point. I've had a number of inquiries come in lately where they say, well, JP, you have your YouTube videos, you haven't been doing the serious, sincere videos lately. What the hell? Are you a sellout? Come on. Of course I'm a sellout. But I'm not a sellout on those videos. So yeah, absolutely. It's probably been since the summer, I'm guessing, that I've put out a sincere, call it life advice video, for lack of a better term, rather than the comedy videos. And I've got, I don't know how many, I think it's probably a little over 150 of the sincere life advice videos on my YouTube channel. And I've taken a hiatus on those for a couple reasons. One, busyness. I'll spare you the gory details, but a lot of this year has been me being busier than I know how to handle. And it's been now I've got the right team members in place so that I can function well again. But there was just significant overwhelm of busyness. So time was a major factor. And then also there's a number of projects that I'm involved with, so mental focus is a factor. So with that said, will I be going back to also doing the sincere, heartfelt videos? Absolutely. When will I be going back to those? I don't know. I guarantee you, though, that when the time is right, I will be doing it. And just as a way of pretending like I can honor myself, I won't bring those back until the time is right, until I have the space for them, rather than trying to force them into my schedule at the expense of my own self-time, which I need to give myself more of. So if you had that as a question on your mind, there you go. And if you didn't, there you go. Even at that. Before we wrap up here, first off, I'd like to say I'm glad I'm not the only one who doesn't have a life in the traditional sense. Here we are on a Friday night, hanging out together, doing a little Purposeful Pointlessness Show. The way most people define having a life are things I don't like to do. Go out to a bar, a club. I don't even know what else normal people do on a weekend, but those kind of things, like, not for me. So anyway, thank you for not having a life. You don't have a life. You have more than a life. You have a good life. So we're here not having a life together. We're here having a good life together. How do you like that? Now we can look down on other people who are out socializing. We're here pretending to socialize through technology. Why would you need other people in your life when you can think there's other people in your life? Because there's an image coming up on your screen. That's cool. So anyway, before we wrap up, I'd like to get to the segment of this show called What's Irritating Me? Why? It's a good question. This segment is dedicated to me pretending like I'm not always peaceful. Better said, it's dedicated to me, not pretending I'm always... I think I probably said that right. Whatever. So what is irritating me lately? Post offices. I've been sending had some packages to send out to some people here lately. Not Christmas packages, because remember, I don't want to be a liar. If you were tuned in however long ago it was, and I said I haven't bought Christmas gifts this year, I was telling the truth. So anyway, I was sending out other packages. Man, has there ever been a business more inefficient, time cumbersome, and just a sort of like an unpleasant customer user experience than going to a post office? My answer is yes, the DMV. But I only go to the DMV, I don't know what it is, like once every 4 years. But the post office, I go there probably between 1 and 15 times a year. Not often, and the once a year thing is awesome, but lately it's been a little bit. And it's interesting, like any other business that, in order to, like, here's one package I want to send, like, can I just give you money and let's get this show underway? But to have to wait in typically a long line, and then once you actually get to the postal worker, anytime I hear that term, I think of like a machine gun. It's my mental association with the term postal worker. Because back in the day, apparently postal workers would occasionally bring in a machine gun to work and shoot up the office. This is where the term going postal came from. Luckily, that doesn't happen anymore. Unfortunately, people take guns other places. Guns. Shooting people, I don't approve of. Sorry. JP, I'm offended that you don't think it's right to shoot people. What the hell's wrong with you? I don't like the idea of shooting anybody for any reason. Anyway, so any other business that had such a poor user experience, so slow, so inefficient, so this is my judgment, unenthusiastic customer service, we would go out of business. And there is a inner jerk that I have that wants the U.S. Postal Service to be put out of business by UPS and FedEx. I don't really go into UPS and FedEx stores, but I assume it's just like a little bit of a easier experience. So it's like there's this inner jerk part of me that just thinks like there's someone somewhere behind the whole U.S. Postal Service business model that'll just have this monumental lesson taught to him or her, but he's a him in my mind. And like when he goes out of business, because here I am, think I'm the center of the universe because I want them to go out of business, he'll sit there and say, wow, went out of business. I'm sorry, JP. My inner jerk is that delusional to think like not only would he be taught a lesson, but he would feel very sorry and terrible over me spending more minutes of my life in a post office than I'd want. That's called egocentrism, I think. Is narcissistic, being obsessed with self. Yes, I want the Postal Service to go out of business because that guy, the guy behind it, would then, his main concern isn't losing his whole business. It would be me. That would be his concern. Yeah, that's definitely a narcissistic trait right there. I'm typically kidding when I call myself a narcissist. There's always a half-truth to it. But now I'm realizing like, wow, that part I'm not kidding about. Yikes. The other last thing I want to say before we wrap up here, just itching myself. By the way, I'm sitting on my living room floor. The most uncomfortable. It's so uncomfortable for me to just sit on a floor like legs crossed. But I wanted the fire to be in the background. In that vein. The other thing, next segment of the show we'll get to real quick, is what's working for me lately. Yeah, let's make that a segment of the show. We'll do that next time too. So what's working for me lately? Sometimes I get caught up in the idea of like getting fancier and fancier and more complex with, ways of working with myself, ways of growing, ways of healing, ways of becoming more conscious. And I would dare say, oftentimes in the complexity, I lose sight of functionality. It's like the more complex I'm trying to make my conscious evolution, the more unconscious my conscious evolution becomes, sometimes, not all the time. So lately I've been really getting a lot of nourishment about going back to what I would call the basics. So one of the basics that I've been working on lately is my focus, like just being conscious, like what am I focusing on right now? And from what angle am I focusing on in this given situation? So I'm the type of person, I always feel like I never have enough time to do everything I feel as though I need to be doing, should be doing. Wow, I use the word should. Ooh, that tells you a lot about me right now. Inner child's been active in my life. Compliant child still in a hypnotic trance of dutifulness. But anyway, so because I really cherish time and there's just never able to cram enough time, whatever. Redundant with words. Blame that on low blood sugar. So anyway, the other day, a couple days ago, it was kind of like the whole day dedicated to filming a video, which is great. I love just having wide open time to do this art form I would call video creation. But there I was, had the whole day for it, and I was still focused on the time I didn't have. It's like, I just have this one day for this, and, I got to cram, and it's like I was just focusing on all the time I didn't have which was just leaving me like completely unappreciative of the large pool of time that I did have. It's like when I started to notice like how I was focusing on my day, it's like the more I was focusing on the amount of time I didn't, like I only have a day, I don't have any more time than this. Like I just feel stressed and tight. And then just, it's really just a kindergarten level task basic. Kindergarten level basic. Take the word task out of that. Someone's doing the transcript of this, which you're not. Take out the word task. So the kindergarten level basic is be aware of what I'm focusing on. If I'm focusing on what I don't have, that always, 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 always equals stress for me. If I'm focusing on what I do have, especially with a sense of appreciation, hopefully, that equals relaxation. Like I literally can breathe easier, which, by the way, I mentioned with a sense of appreciation is more ideal. I would dare say the appreciation comes as a natural byproduct of focusing on what we do have. Focusing what we do have, I believe, naturally gives birth to the appreciation. Focusing on what we don't have or focusing on our lack, I think that's the antithesis of appreciation. I think that's what makes appreciation evaporate. So with that said, because that's been meaningful to me, again, a very simple basic that's been big for me the past few days, actually. Want to share that with you. I'd invite you to pay attention to what are you focusing on. What's there or what's not there? Are you in a state of appreciation, being connected with what's there, aka that means you're present, or are you in a state of resentment? So always appreciation or resentment. Are you resenting what's not there? By the way, if you're focused on what's not there, then you are not there either. You're not present. And I hope I'm listening to that. I probably need to hear that. So with that said, my lovely friends, thank you for hanging with me. Whether you've been on this whole time, God help you if you have, but thank you very much. If you've been on for a couple minutes or a few minutes, appreciate you hanging with me. I hope you enjoy the living hell out of your weekend. I hope you enjoy the living hell out of whatever holiday you call it that's about to happen. And I hope you enjoy the living hell on whatever meaning you associate with your version of the holiday. So please enjoy, friends, and I'll look forward to talking with y'all next time. Stay weird, guys. I'm just awkwardly trying to hit the finish button, but I missed. Now I'll maybe gracefully actually hit it. See if my aim's good enough.